tuned in to a Grown Folks production. In mix with the commish, Nate.
There we go. That's what we want to do. Welcome to Press Pass Live. I'm glad that you're here. I just finished a watch along. Then I had to shuffle my kid off to work. Now I'm back, and now we're going to look at a couple of the divisions. And I'm starting to question, did I do these already? I don't know. You'll tell me, because I can't remember now. I wanted to go division by division and break these down. And now I'm starting to question if I actually did that or not. So let's get over here. Actually, come back, Nate. We don't need to go over there. Let's break down the AFC and NFC North and look at these teams, kind of break down their rosters really quick. And then we're going to kind of open up Pandora's box and do some commissioner power rankings, which I think I got to fix real quick. Maybe I do that right now. Let me go ahead and fix these before we get into it. Oh, because it's just not fun if you see all of them before we even get there. Okay, let's get over here and let's look at these teams right now. The Browns are sitting at 6-4. The Steelers at 5-5. The Bengals at 5-6, and the Ravens at 3-7. I'm going to give this music just a little bit more beef. See how that works out. Browns through Ravens, there's just not a lot of gaps between these two teams. Browns are on a 1-game losing streak. Steelers on a 2-game losing streak. Bengals on a 1-game winning streak. Ravens on a 1-game losing streak. So these teams all kind of having an up and down season so far. Let's go look at their rosters. We know that there's been some movement between these teams, especially when we think about the Bengals. We're going to look at some stat leaders from the AFC North. Dickerson is leading all the quarterbacks in yards, 3,844 shared, and right behind him at 3,290. Then we get a big drop of almost, what is that? Is that 600 yards almost? Jackson, and then another 700 yards below him, Coakley. So there's a pretty big gap between the quarterbacks here. 37 touchdowns, but 23 interceptions for Dickerson, 24 and 22 for Sheridan. Or is it Sheehan? Sheehan. Why do I keep saying Sheridan? I don't know. Sheehan. Crazy name. Anyway, 12 and 12 for Lamar, and then 13 and 14 for the rookie Coakley, which we tend to see in this league. Rookie quarterbacks being able to shine in year one is really, really tough. Quarterback completion percentage, 65, 56, 59, and 60. These guys are all roughly the same, but Kenny Dickerson having the touchdown to interception ratio and the yards that you want to see. Yeah, I heard. Jason, I don't know if you even watch these anymore. I don't get to talk to Jason all that much, but I'm going to send you a personal message today. I did read the deuce board. Just thinking about you, bro, and thinking about your family. Mixon, 196 carries for 959 yards, 16 touchdowns for him. Kazim Miller, the rookie, having a pretty good season, 182, 763, and 9. Harris having a pretty good season, 749 and 8. Chubb, 581 and 7. But Mixon really having the outstanding season for the AFC North. Looking at receivers, Schwartz, 67, 13, and 15. But you kind of expect that with all of the stats that the Browns are putting up on the offense. Stanley, the number 2 receiver, not only on his team, but in the AFC North with 10 touchdowns. Looks like the internet is acting up a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully it'll clean itself up here pretty soon. That's not a sexy sound, but whatever. It is what it is. Marquise Brown, 4 touchdowns, 900 yards. Big play receiver there for him and Samuel. So Browns with the top 2 guys, Ravens and Bengals. Let's go look at a little defense before we move over to the NFC. Looking at the tackles, Sykes, Bradley Sykes, second year middle linebacker. making plays, 84 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, which is a pretty high number for a middle linebacker who usually is in pass coverage. Van Buren playing outstanding, 80 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions. So he's having a Pro Bowl season. And then Patrick Queen, 78 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 1 interception. Look at some sacks leaders. Myles Garrett doing what Myles Garrett does. 12 sacks. Owa, 9.5 sacks. Ford at 6.5. So the Baltimore defensive line getting things done. And then there's pretty big dropout to the rest of those guys. Interceptions. John Johnson, the third, 8 interceptions. Jesse Bates, third. A lot of thirds going on here with 7 interceptions. Sean Elliott with 6. And then a bunch of guys with 4 and 3s and 2s and all that other fun stuff. So looking at the AFC North, I should say, the Browns and Bengals. I think it was the Bengals, right? Let's go look at them again. Browns and Bengals really battling it out to see. Browns and Steelers, I'm sorry. The Bengals are going to have a tough couple of CPU games here. Who knows how CPU games are going to go? It looks like they may have already had a couple of them. Those are going to loom large as the season continues to progress. Redman's not out of it. He's been in full WWE WrestleMania mode as he got to go to WrestleMania. Nipples, we're jealous of you, but I hope that you had a good time. It'll be a fun season to see how this one kind of comes through to the end. Let's look at the words. They're not my friend today. NFC North, Packers at 7-4, Lions at 6-4, Vikings and Bears 3-7, 2-9 respectively. We kind of talked about them a little bit on the last Press Pass Live. One win for the Packers to give them that 1-game lead, but it's only a half-game lead, I should say. The Lions are on a 5-game winning streak, missing a couple of those early games, but he's digging himself out of that hole pretty quickly. Let's look at a couple of stats from the NFC North. Passing, it's going to be about Matthew Stafford, even when the CPU is in control of them. 28-16 with a 62% completion percentage. It's just kind of weird to see Burrow at the bottom of this list when it comes to yards, but having a really good season. 63% is going to be number 1 in the NFC North. 16 touchdowns to 10 interceptions is a really great ratio. Put him number 2, but he's just at the bottom of the league when it comes to yards because it's really about their rushing game, as we can see here. Clancy, the rookie, having an outstanding season. 1,260 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. Dalvin Cook, 179, 783, and 8. Milner right behind him. Milner having a really good season. The yards aren't there, but the touchdowns are 596, 7 touchdowns, but a 6.1 average. Just to show you that the Bears could use to run him just a little bit more. Alex Belton continuing his Rookie of the Year campaign that he had last season. He is going to be in Player of the Year awards talk this season. 65 receptions, 1,073 yards, 15 touchdowns for the 5'9" receiver out of Alabama. Irv Smith, the other player out of Alabama, getting it done for the Minnesota Vikings. 34, 702, only 1 touchdown on the year. And then Allen Robinson, not a receiver you would think would be the number 1 receiver here for the Green Bay Packers, but he is. 38, 670, and 4 touchdowns on the year. Look at some defensive leaders before we transition out of here. Raekwon Smith getting it done with 88 tackles on the year. Jabbar James, the rookie, playing really well for the Detroit Lions. 81 tackles. He's allowed their number 1 safety to move over to cornerback. We'll talk about him here in just a minute. And then Devin Bush for the Green Bay Packers with 69 tackles. Look at some tackles for loss. 15 for Smith, 15 for Gary. These guys really helping lead the Packers defense. Sacks is going to be about Gary, who's having a really great season. 15 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and 1 interception. Zadarius Smith right behind him with 8 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. We talked about both of those guys. Leonard Williams putting a lot of pressure right up the middle there. 10 tackles for loss, 7 sacks on the year. And then interceptions. Jalen Johnson having a great season, hanging right there with Doug Glenn. 8 interceptions on the season. Doug Glenn with 7. He's been a playmaker, even moving to the outside, using that big body to body up receivers, but still make plays. Stokes for the Green Bay Packers having 6 interceptions. Sherman still getting it done. with 5 interceptions from the strong safety position, and then Savage with 5 interceptions. So a lot of Green Bay Packers up here, 3 of them in a row with Stokes, Sherman, and Savage. Should be a really interesting season. I don't know what's up with the internet. I apologize. I see that it's kind of going in and out, in and out, in and out here. I have no clue what's going on. But this one's going to come down to a really tight couple of weeks here at the end of the season. Can the Packers hold off the Lions? They had that really great game in Green Bay, I think 2 advances ago. The Lions came out on top of that one. That could be a big game as we come down the stretch between these two teams. And now it's time to talk about the OMFL Power Rankings, my commissioner rankings. These are the top teams that I think are still alive here as our top teams in the OMFL. Let's get over here and bring these up one by one. These have transitioned over the last few weeks, and we're going to see some new teams on this list. But one that's kind of fallen down here, we're going to start off with the San Francisco 49ers. Penguins and his 49ers having a pretty good season, but he's hit a bit of a speed bump these last couple of weeks against some really good teams. Started out with the Cardinals. He's got a big game coming up this week against the Jets. I think they're playing tonight. I think Tim was on the podcast a little earlier today as we were doing the watch along of his game. He was even talking about how the last time they played was 62-59, just a crazy game. 49ers are going to be up against a really good Jets team. Let's see what they can do. They come in as my number 5 team. Great defensive team, but has some offensive firepower. Coming in at number 4, it's going to be Carolina Panthers and Black Panther, Black Cats, Panther Nation. He's got 100 different names here, but whatever you want to call him, you need to call him one of the top teams in the OMFL. He's one of the top teams here in the NFC. Number 2 in the NFC South at 8-3. They had a big loss against the 49ers 2 advances ago. Against the Falcons, I should say. But then the Falcons beat the Saints last advance. So everybody's starting to clump up right here in the NFC South. And the real colors of the Saints are coming to the forefront. Can the Panthers overtake them? Can both teams, the Saints and Panthers, keep off and staff off the Atlanta Falcons? Panthers are getting it done with the run game and a really great defense. That defensive line puts so much pressure on you. They come in as my number 4 team. At number 3, the Arizona Cardinals. And I kind of went back and forth on the Arizona Cardinals and kind of where they would fall on our list. Even with the San Francisco 49ers, there were some other teams that I could have moved in there. I went ahead and put the Arizona Cardinals here at number 3 on my list. Not the number 1 team, but also not the number 2 team, because I want to give the number 2 team on our list some credit for the season that they're having. But the number 3 team in our league, we know what D-Money brings to the table. Great defense, great using, great play calling. He can kind of make all the plays with Murray in the backfield. He gets it done in every aspect. Not having that undefeated season, but also I think he's missed maybe a couple of games. You just never know if D-Money's like full go or if he's like relaxing. I don't know. It's a theory that I have here in the OMFL, but he is my number 3 team in my power rankings this week. Coming in at number 2, a brand new team on the list, Tim and the New York Jets. I know that they had the midst of a game. We just finished calling it as a watch along on the last advances. Some FPR issues there, just a few minor ones, nothing, anything super major. I think more some sportsmanship, some interconnection of relationship. I don't know what you want to call it, but guys who probably don't tend to like each other. Maybe they love each other and just neither one of them knew how to hit the brakes. But Tim and the Jets are having an outstanding season. He's got a playmaker back there and Zach Wilson. The defense outside of last week has been playing pretty good. He's got Ridley at tight end, who's probably the best tight end, arguably top tight end in all of the OMFL. He's having an outstanding season, and he gets my nod for my number 2 team, which leaves our number 1 team, who's been here for quite some time, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars and Brady. Brady, we see you, even with basketball, even with everything going on. I think you're still sitting here undefeated. You're still the number 1 team in this league. Back-to-back championships here, leading into season 100. People just can't seem to solve the Brady puzzle that still is here. And that's going to lead to a hell of a great playoffs as we come to a close. They had some guys that had him on the ropes, but no one has been able to finish the job And until someone dethrones him or dethrones him multiple times during the season, but definitely dethrones him when we get into the playoffs in the OMFL Bowl, you got to lean in. The champion is the champion until he is no longer the champion. Every cat does have their day. I guess these two cats, though, just haven't had one in quite some time. I blame you for that, Dakota. You brought this guy in here. So that's my power rankings. I want to hear your power rankings. How would you have that? How would you have them? How would you place them? Where would you put them? Let me hear some of your power rankings for season 100, because we're having a really good season and there's some really good teams and some really good games going on. This is a Sharp Press Pass Live this week because I've got no OMFL news. Brady's busy, man. He's got a lot going on. Wife is coming home early. Expect her to walk through that door any moment. We wanted to do a watch along and I couldn't get an interview for this week. We thought we had Tim lined up. Weren't able to make that happen, but we will have Tim this week on a pre-recorded one for this coming Sunday. Let's look at a couple of what to watch for our games this week. Some games I'm definitely going to have my eye on because I think there are going to be some really, really great games. And I think even today, we've already heard some really good games going on. No bad. I totally get it, brother. You're super busy. There's a ton going on. There's zero judgment in there. Is this 12? Oh, yeah. We only had one game played so far. And I think that game is actually being played right now. Dallas Cowboys, I think. I don't know. Let me know, Dakota. Did this game get played? Was it a CPU game? Not sure what's going on with that game, but a lot of good games are going to go on tonight. I'd love to see what the Texans are going to do against the Ravens. I'm pulling for my guy, Raj. He's talked about it during the watch along a while ago. Team that started out super hot. Kind of taking a couple steps back here, not playing up to the potential that they've had. They've had a hard time finding stops, but they're playing a team. This is a get-right game for both of these teams. Baltimore Ravens still have a chance to get in it, get back in their race. So does Raj and his team. This is a can't-get-right game for Raj and his Buffalo Bills? That's not what I meant to say. Houston Texans. I was looking at the Buffalo Bills. Atlanta Falcons and Chiefs. Kobe, big win against the Saints. He has my number. He's got my mama's number, my daddy's number, my Twitter, my tax number, my social security number. He's got my cell phone number, my pager number, my fax number. He's got every number that you possibly could have. And he's got a big game against Luka and the Kansas City Chiefs this week. Saints and Giants should be a fun one. We're going to play not tonight, but tomorrow night, hopefully. Giants have had a hell of a great season. They were right there kind of on the cusp of being in my commissioner power rankings. That should be a really fun game. Cincy Bird, he played me outstanding. He's turned over the ball a lot. We see the offensive numbers that Massimo is putting up. Can Cincy Bird start to right the ship against a big-time rival in Massimo? He used to play those guys way back in the day. This will be a really fun game to watch and see how that plays out. I want to watch the Bengals versus Raiders. Bengals are trying to get things rolling. They're 1.5 games, something like that, behind in the AFC North. Raiders, we never know what's going to happen with them. He's got his rookie quarterback. He's kind of hit a couple of games where he's rolling. You never know what Raiders team is going to show up and play in that game. That would be a really fun one to watch. Dolphins and Broncos should be a really fun game. Bills kind of went back and forth. He's had some good games and he's dropped a couple of games. I know he's frustrated with just kind of where his team is right now. This is a can't get right for both of these games, both of these teams. This is a can't get right game for both of these teams. This could get some momentum and get them rolling as they go. This could be, these two games here, these three games here could be game of the week. I think these are the must-watch games for this week. D-Money against C-Murder. Offense versus defense. C-Murder can put up points with the very best of them. We've seen this matchup in the OMFL Bowl. It's probably still one of the most talked about bowl games. I actually missed that game. I know Wayne talks about this game all the time. Colin had him on the ropes, let him off at the very end. This could be a game where we see some payback. Tim against Penguins. We talked about this game a little bit. Tim talked about it in chat on the watch along. Tim has revenge in his mind. He wants to get back at Penguins. This was an offensive explosion. I don't see that kind of explosion for this game. Tim is going to have to keep himself from turning the ball over. And Penguins is going to just stay the course, play really great defense. You're at home. Hopefully momentum will continue to be in your favor for this one. And then a little Koch against Trey. Trey's got his team rolling, 5-game winning streak. Little Koch is trying to right the ship in Tennessee, not having the season that he had hoped to have with the early kind of slow start. He's looking to get things turned around. It's going to be on the road, a winnable game for both of these teams. Who turns the ball over the least amount? Can the Titans overcome a great stingy defense and the Detroit Lions on the road in that dome with that crowd? This will be a really, really fun game to watch. So that is my what to watch for this week. Let's get back over here and see if we've got some questions. I don't know if we do or don't. I didn't get to go look before we got in here. That's not the one that we need. This is the one that we need. All right, let's see if we can get over here. Oh no, did it again. It's making me go page by page. Come on, get it. I don't want to go page by page. Oh well. Oh, that's how we can do it. Okay. And look at Nate figuring some things out. All right, we figured out how to get to the last page. I think we talked about some of these. Yep, we did all of these. Oh, okay. We got a new one from Priest. 3 questions from Priest. Why can't I speak English today? I'm thirsty. Maybe that's the problem. Number 1, are the Jets for real or will they fall? That's a really tough question. Let me quickly take a look at the standings. AFC East right now, Jets are sitting at 8-2, Patriots at 5-5, Dolphins at 3-7, Bills at 3-7. They've got a 2-3 game lead right there. Now they just dropped that game against the Patriots. They're playing pretty good defense. The offense is kind of hit and miss. I think that they're for real. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it just depends on Zach Wilson. Look, I gave Tim some feedback. He watched the video along with me. It'll be interesting to see how he applies that feedback, if he can clean up some of those things that I think kind of get him in FPR trouble. But I think a team that's sitting at 8-2, you have to think that they are for real. Now, what can they do in the playoffs? I think the AFC is totally open until you play Brady. Can somebody topple, the Jacksonville Jaguars? If I have to call it, watching his game against the Patriots, watching a lot of Brady's games, I don't think the Jets are on the same level as Brady and the Patriots, but he still has, 6-7 games, whatever it is, left to get there, plus the playoffs. There's plenty of time to get there. I think they are for real. I don't know if he is an OMFL Bowl contender because you got Brady sitting over there. Question number 2, the teams that are under 500 can still make a run for the wild card spot. Great question. Let's look and see. Under 500 in the AFC. Steelers 5-6, Patriots 5-5, Ravens 5-5, Texans 5-5, Titans 5-5, Bengals at 5-6. Those are really your only teams that are still kind of in the hunt. And I think all of those teams are still in there. Depends on how many games that Clyde's going to miss here. That's probably going to undo his season if he misses, 3 or more of those. I think the Patriots show that they can still compete. They can still make a run and be in there. The Raiders, we've seen them kind of hit and miss with their quarterback. I like the Texans. I like the Patriots. I like the Titans. I like the Bengals. They've got to get some of the quarterback woes figured out. I think if I had to pick which of those teams can really make a run, I would go Patriots at 5-5, Titans at 5-5. I think those are your best teams. And this week could be really pivotal for the Houston Texans. If they can pick up a couple of victories here, they're going to put themselves right back in that running. NFC, I don't think is nearly as close. I mean, you go from the 6-4 Seattle Seahawks to the 3-7 Rams, 3-7 Washington Football Team, 3-7 Vikings, 2-8 Buccaneers, not Broncos. None of the NFC teams below 500 are going to make it. You're going to have to win 11, 12 games to make the playoffs here in the NFC. I know Brady doesn't like hearing it. I know he's going to say something on the next OMFL news whenever it happens. NFC is superior until you get to the bowl game, and Brady has their number. And so that's why I think Brady's run here is going to go down in OMFL lore, just like a lot of the D-Money 6 bowl games out of 7 or whatever it was. Some of these guys that went on these crazy runs, because Brady has a 2 bowl championship back-to-back against what has been one of the most powerful NFCs that we have ever seen. Question number 3. I've seen more than a few owners lately celebrating while scoring touchdowns. Time for an actual rule or maybe suspension of players that does it. I don't think we'll get to suspension. I think it's I agree. Number one, yes, I seen it. I was watching a game the other day with a very good team here, and it was very surprising. And I seen him do the whole dive flip thing into the end zone. I think it's just a refresher to remind everybody, hey, we don't do this. Let's not do this. We have some sportsmanship things that we do. It just there's no need for it. Go do that offline. Go do that online, lobby games. Go do what you want in those, but don't do it here. I don't think we'll see any suspensions. I think just a warning. I think it's just a great point by you. It's something I want to remind myself the other day. I think I'm going to send out a reminder today. Quarterbacks, drop it back when you're dropping back. You want to move out as soon as the play is called, then you need to call a rollout design play call, which even then, he still backs up 3 to 5 steps, usually fakes the handoff and then rolls out. So let's clean up the quarterback stuff, and let's clean up the celebrations, and then just like the multiple concepts in a short amount of plays. Let's just mix that up, and that was kind of the biggest feedback that I gave on the watch along. So I'll probably share out the watch along, remind people about quarterback play, remind people about celebrations, because it's just unneeded. It's uncalled for. We don't need to have it, and I just think, yeah, let's be better. Let's be smarter about it. All right. Last chance, last call in the chat. Do we have any questions from the chat? If not, we're going to get you out of here. It's a fun season. Season 100 is full of great teams in NFC. A lot of teams that beat up on each other in the AFC. A lot of teams still on the run in the AFC. The AFC is a long way from getting decided. The NFC is a long way from being decided, but the group of teams is pretty much decided. The bottom half of the NFC got beat up pretty bad this season. There's a lot of teams in the running, but they're all good teams. And I think over the next 3 advances, you're going to see some separation by teams in the NFC who's going to make it. And the AFC over the next 3 advances, we're going to see who steps up and makes a run and who just kind of fades out into obscurity. I can't wait to see how the draft's going to go this season. It should be a really fun one, and just some more classic games. If I get a chance, I'll try to call some of the games tonight. I don't know. 4 pieces of content in one day is probably a lot, so we'll see how that goes. Well, guys, I love you. I want you to know that you matter. I appreciate you hanging out with me. A lot of content back to back here. I had a free afternoon. Can't work out because I got a foot injury, so I'm taking a couple of days off to let that foot heal up a little bit. Had the day off, and so why not? I figured this is a great way to reset. I love you. Can't wait to see you again. I might come on tonight, so watch for me tonight. If not, we'll be back tomorrow night as we host the New York Giants for a very pivotal game for us. He's sitting at 7-4. My team's sitting at 9-2. Just got our teeth knocked in on the last one, so we'll see how that plays. All right, guys. Take care the rest of your afternoon. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Smash that like and subscribe.